Hi there, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This is Deb. I am the founder of Find Calm Here. I'm so glad to be joined by Joe as one of our founding partners with Find Calm Here. And he's going to talk to us today about nutrition. That's our topic of the day. I'm excited to see all of your lovely faces. Hopefully you guys have some really great questions, and we'll just keep chatting through the day as the hour goes. So Joe, I'm just going to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Deb. So I know some of you guys know me, but some of you don't. So I guess I'll go through a little bit of my story and how I got interested in nutrition. And for me, nutrition was kind of a journey. And I started out basically in college when I was pretty overweight and out of shape. Didn't know how to eat. Mostly eating, pizza, beer, Taco Bell, typical college food for most people, and had a lot less energy. I was doing a little bit of running, but it was barely a mile, and I could barely motivate myself to get outside the door. So when I graduated, I decided to try to lose some weight, get in better shape. I started working in Connecticut as an aerospace engineer. I was building jet engine parts, and I was thrown into a crazy busy project redesigning a fan blade. So I was busy trying to lose weight, move to a new place. I'm sure you guys all know how that feels like. It was really tough. And the only thing I knew how to do was dieting. And I went on the macro train, 6 meals a day, counting all my calories. And it worked somewhat. And I did lose a little bit of weight, but it was incredibly taxing and really hard to do when I was super busy. So as soon as, I kind of got outside that routine, maybe went on a trip or traveled somewhere else, it kind of fell off because I was always hungry, having 6 meals a day, and I couldn't get that when I was traveling or when I was busy. So I started searching for better ways to eat. And that's when I was certified through Precision Nutrition and found out about healthy habits. And this is the nutrition routine I like to promote today. And it is so much easier, and it's all about just keeping things simple and easy. It's when I was certified, I kind of learned about this. So basically, to tease it out a little bit, it's basically just doing simple, easy things instead of an all or nothing diet, something like a keto or going full vegan, which can work for people, but I don't think it works in the long run. So this method kind of helps you more in the long run because it helps you establish these healthy habits, which turn into routines, which you can kind of use for the rest of your life. So instead of eating 6 meals a day, I would concentrate on maybe having more protein with my lunch or vegetables with breakfast, and just build from there. And I would only start doing it when I was super confident I could do it. So what that means is basically doing it once a week. If I was confident of twice a week, I would start there and then slowly add it into other days in the week until I was doing it every day. And yes, it was a little bit of a slower process, but it was so much more sustainable and just easier to build. And what we don't realize is that nutrition is a routine, a habit. People think it's some sort of mystical thing that you have to diet and go crazy with, but it's just like any other habit. You build it slowly over time. So it works so much better to start slow and build so you don't burn yourself out. And so I was super excited about this, that I found this way to do it. But I decided to start coaching some people, friends and family, and trying out this nutrition habit routine, this mindset to get people to change their nutrition and slowly feel better, have more energy, like I had felt. When I changed my diet, I actually competed in my first half Ironman and just gained a lot more confidence. And it started creating other changes in my life. And this is when I quit my job 4 years into it and decided to bike across the country. So I biked down the coast to Florida and then biked to San Diego. And took a really long time. It probably took about 3 months of biking, if you're wondering, and maybe 7 months of being on the road because I ended up stopping in Houston, helping with the hurricane recovery, seen a lot of friends. Um, it was a great trip, but I don't think I would have ever done that without nutrition and believing I could change, kind of changing from that fixed mindset. So I really do believe nutrition can kind of be the foundation or the gateway to bigger changes in your life. So it was pretty awesome to be able to do that. And even from there, I decided to hike the Pacific Crest Trail on a whim when I got to California, and I did that. And then after that, I ended up coming out here to Colorado, where I'm at right now, Southwest Colorado, in Telluride, and I work for the mountain, and I'm kind of bringing all this nutrition knowledge, all these things I've done, changing your habits, changing your mindset back to try to help people more. And that's what we're going to talk more about today, is finding calm with nutrition. So Deb, I don't know if you have any questions or if you just want me to talk a little bit.
You go, man. If you wanted to start with do you have the first prompting question for everybody?
Sure. So the first step I like to take with anything, but it works well for nutrition, is to kind of figure out what your intrinsic motivation is behind it. So I would ask you guys to kind of ask yourself, most people want to, if your goal, say, is to lose weight, um, why do you want to lose weight? Maybe it's, oh, I want to look better in the mirror. Well, why do you want to look better in the mirror? Well, I want to be able to get up the steps, or I want to have enough energy to get up the stairs without huffing and puffing. Why do you want to do that? Well, I want to be able to be healthy for the rest of my life and, have the energy to complete my daily tasks. And that right there is a much better motivator than wanting to lose weight. So the first thing I'd have you guys do is think about that question. Why do you want to get healthier? Why do you want to eat better? And, maybe write down or think out loud, put in the chat after you go through those 5 whys, or 3 to 5 whys, and let's see what people's motivations are.
Yeah, I really like that idea of the why. I think that's really important to think about when we're talking as far as nutrition, like why, I think, like, why am I here today, for example? Because I want to learn more about, finding calm with nutrition, what that means. And my why is not just that, it's about, wanting to have easier, like, I'll eliminate anxiety, right, by having a plan that I can put into action, and not be all worried about dieting, like you're saying. So I think that would be, since I decided, I was just thinking about it, and I'm like, I'll just share mine to kick it off. But we'll give everybody like a minute. If you have a pen and a journal around or a piece of paper to write on, I would suggest writing it out, because that's really good, even if you just jot down some notes right now, and then write it out maybe in a longer format later. I'll give you a minute to do that.
Yeah, and if you want to drop it in the chat, that works too, if you want to share. Or we could even have somebody come on once you guys are done and talk about it. For me, I think my nutrition goals obviously have evolved as, my practice has refined, and that's kind of what you want, is to keep refining your nutrition practice. And everybody is always refining their nutrition practice. And, that just comes back to always learning. And for me now, I'm just trying to find what gives me the most energy to go about my day. And, like Deb was saying, just be calm with it, okay with, a lot of cravings are coming up while we're all sheltered in place, I think, and learning how to deal with that has been important, and getting used to this new routine. So for me, it's kind of like a double-edged sword of being more mindful with where those kind of cravings come from, and also, trying to find food that just energizes me.
Forgot that I was muted. If you want to give me a thumbs up, if you guys are ready, or just smile and say, hey, you guys all pretty good? Yeah? Okay. So now I'm going to see, Joe, do you want to, do you want to have somebody raise their hand to share, or how would you like somebody to share?
Yeah, if anyone wants to raise their hand and come on and share, we can unmute you, or we can read some in the comments. Anybody want to go first?
Hey, Joseph.
Hey, Barbara.
Hey, there's Uncle Richard. So I don't know where the chat is in here. Anyway, I need my 101 from you after this call. But yeah, no, look, I think, I mean, Joseph, as you know, I mean, food, nutrition is so important to me. And, I've gotten more passionate about it over the years. Also, knowing where my food comes from is hugely important. That is hugely, hugely important, knowing your farmer, if you're able to get close enough to the farming community. But I also think food, impacts our mood. There's a lot written about that. And certainly the energy piece is hugely important. You just feel better. And, just knowing that there's a connection between what we put in our mouths and our optimal health. I mean, I do what I do, one, because I love to cook, and I love food. I love picking out beautiful vegetables at the farmer's market. But I also know it's helping me stay optimally healthy, hopefully for a long time. So those are my passions, but they definitely are connected back to who grows our food, and where our food comes from.
Yeah, and I know you're super passionate about that, Aunt Barbara, and being in New York and stuff, it's kind of probably an interesting place to get fresh produce, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for it, but there's also a lot of opportunity for the opposite.
Yeah.
So
Well, you know what? New York's great. I mean, we are in the epicenter, but I have to say, it's just, things are so convenient here, even during the pandemic. I have a farm box. We have a farm box delivered to us every week, and it's called Farm to People. And they actually broker across a lot of different farms and a lot of different suppliers. So you don't just get one farm's vegetables, although that's great too, a traditional CSA. But, that's how we've been getting most of our food. I mean, I can go up to Broadway and get them too, and I do. But, I think farming, I was reading something this morning that people are buying more from local suppliers, local farms these days, because they have to. But maybe it's broadening the awareness on how important it is to support, stuff that's grown locally. So we actually have pretty good access here in Manhattan, I have to say.
yeah, it's kind of nice being in a city like that. I mean, I feel like most people don't think that the city it's harder to be healthy, but in a lot of ways,
Right.
with all those CSAs and everything close by
Sure.
and bringing it to the people, it's easier.
Yep, that's right.
Great. We could go on about that longer
Mhm.
here, but I think it's a good point, because people think that local produce is more expensive, but um, you're in the end you're supporting your local farmers, and it's way less impact on the environment, because it's
Right.
no transportation cost,
That's right.
and you're getting all the nutrients kind of around your area, which actually helps, because they've been adapted to that local environment. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, absolutely.
anybody else want to share? Maybe one more person, then we can move on here. Liz?
I'll unmute myself. Hey, Joe. Hey, everyone.
Hey.
For my items, I just said I want to feel great anytime, or at least feel good, just because, like usually it's, oh, you slept all night, you feel good, or I rested, I feel good. But really, it's like any time of day, I'm getting to that age where it's like you just stand up and it's like, oh, why does that thing hurt? Or why does, so I figure, I mean, I know nutrition and also rest, but nutrition plays a big part in just my overall feeling how I feel all day. Also, I'd like to be able to try new things or new adventures, and need to be, fairly well, feeling good or fit or able, like strength wise, to do it. And good nutrition is needed for that too. And lastly, it's, for my children and being around to see their children. I just want to be able to have that longevity.
Yeah, those are awesome. I mean, those get right down to the deep root, and I think being around for your children is a huge one that people don't even think about. And hopefully this whole shelter in place and stormy times, I like to call it, is making people realize that health is more than just losing weight and looking good. It's longevity, it's immunity, and kind of waking people up that sustainable healthy habits can really set you up for the long run and just help you be around for people and have more energy to do everything you want to do. Anyway, let's there's a lot of good ones in the chat here too. I'm seeing a lot of things on a lot more energy, like we've been talking about. Uh, Recipes. All right, we'll give you some recipes later. And yep, better care of yourself. Yep, longevity. So there's a lot of stuff we've been talking about. It seems like we're all on the same page, which is awesome. And I think that's such a better way to approach nutrition rather than a diet or losing weight. And I think you guys are all on the same page, which is great. And the next thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is kind of stress and support. And I think this is highly relevant during COVID. And it's something you kind of have to handle before we even go into recipes or nutrition, because if you don't have that, it just makes it so much harder to eat better. And for me, falling into this situation, kind of forced as it was a new change of routine. And it made it, any change of routine, I think, is really hard to get used to. And, I think in the beginning, I had to give myself a little bit of grace and a little bit of time to adapt to it. And I'm not always so good at that with myself. I know that. And, I needed really a week or two to be able to get used to it and just start getting back into my health routine and adding things that would help me while I was stuck at home. And with that, came the stress, came the overwhelm, and things like that, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have experienced as well. And for me, it came back to a lot of the things I was doing before. That morning routine. I know Deb and I really like the Miracle Morning. I don't know if you guys have ever practiced that, but just being able to meditate in the morning, journal, read, get some movement in, just simple little habits. And it's the same with eating, just adding in that 10-minute walk a day instead of sitting on the couch at night after you eat, or and watching TV, or doing something, sitting with family. Not saying that watching Netflix is bad, but just being mindful about what you're doing and realizing how that affects your mood and your stress. And then the other part of it is your support and who is around you that is supporting your health goals. Uh, for me, I had to think a lot about this because, my immediate environment, I work normally for a lift maintenance crew, and you can imagine how those guys eat. And, when you come back to the shop and everyone's having a beer and I'm the only one not having a beer, it could be a little awkward. So, I have to remember, it comes back to remembering my goals, and then my virtual support network, which I built over the years, and connecting with people like you guys to keep going and understand my health goals and talking through issues I'm either having with stress or support. So that has been huge for me. Is anyone what let's do this. Let's see. What are you guys struggling with right now when it comes to the shelter in place? Is there anything with stress and support that you have struggles with or questions about? You can drop it in the chat or come on if you like. Oh, Lynn? Oh, you're muted.
Unmute myself. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I find it really difficult to stay stress-free when I'm going to the grocery store at this time during COVID. I find a lot of, it's a stressful thing for me. And I was wondering, I would like to hear more about those farm boxes or what your advice is for this.
Yeah. What I would do is look up your local CSA. Is on the just search wherever you're at, CSA, followed by your location. And a lot of times I know what I live in the middle of nowhere in Southwest Colorado, and I can even go pick it up every Tuesday, or they even deliver it to your door. So it really depends on your location, but yeah, I would look it up, and a lot of times it's just delivery and it's fresh, awesome produce.
Thank you. Looking forward to that for sure. I will do that.
Yeah, yeah. It's those CSAs I feel like have been super helpful in this time because it's just less to do with the supply chain and all that. And CSA, what is it? It's community shared agriculture, I think, and it doesn't necessarily have to be community shared agriculture, but the principle behind that is you kind of pay in like for a month and you kind of get whatever they have in season. But there's other programs too where you can have local produce dropped off and things like that. The CS are nice because it's there it is, community supported agriculture, and it's nice because you kind of pay in and you get seasonal produce, and should be eating seasonally kind of because that helps a lot with immunity actually, and because the plants have to go through kind of the cycles of during that season, and they're exposed to a lot of the stuff we are at the same time, so it kind of helps in that way as well. So those are usually what I recommend for people to look into. If you don't want to commit right away though, your local farmers market obviously, or there's a lot more, especially during COVID, of people delivering and bringing stuff. So wherever you want to start, just make it easy. If you don't want to commit to the CSA, definitely look into the local delivery, and I'm sure there's lots of farm stands they'll set up even during COVID. But yeah, thanks for the question. That's a good one. And to address the grocery store thing a little bit, because it's a good actually transition here to the next topic, which is what I like to talk about, is grocery shopping. And you're right, it's a little crazy during this time. I came back from the grocery store, like I hadn't been in a while because I was being a little more careful, eating more shelf stable stuff, and so I went to Walmart in nearest town, which is like an hour and a half for me. And man, yeah, like just being surrounded by people with masks and like it's intimidating in a way. And I think the best way when you do have to go to the grocery store is to make a list of the healthy items that you normally like to get is really important, so you can get in and out as quickly as you can. And then always stick to the edges, because that's kind of where most of the healthy produce is going to be. And and I've been buying a lot more shelf stable stuff lately, like squash, onions, garlic kind of thing. And then frozen vegetables, they're mostly back in stock, I think. And you can buy a lot of that stuff, and you can even buy a bunch of vegetables, prep them, cut them, and throw them in the freezer. So just think about that when you're going to the store. And right, yeah, local gardening is an awesome way too. If you guys want to start a garden, I know a lot of people are doing that. Wish I could do that where I'm at, but so yeah, just ways to think outside the box when it comes to grocery shopping, and just I like making a lot of soups during this time because they last a long time with some hearty lentils, and those are awesome. And I can share some recipes for that later. But let's see, anybody else have any questions about stress or support, or want to come on and talk about a struggle you've been having with it?
Hey, Joseph, it's Barbara again. Yeah, I think the hardest thing for me, and I do get out and walk in the park in Manhattan, but again, it's a little stressful sometimes because I find the runners don't really wear masks as much as people walking, which it's going to have to stop, right? But anyway, that's our governor's problem. But I do find just getting enough exercise. I'm just sitting more as opposed to when I was in my office and I had a standing desk. Even if I walk down, the hall to get a coffee or a tea, now I'm just walking to my kitchen, which is like right behind me in a little apartment in Manhattan. So I find movement and exercise, and I'm not a big exerciser, as you know, but I do like to walk. I do like to do my yoga. I'm doing some of that on my own, but it takes a lot more discipline being on your own as opposed to going to a class. So I've just got to focus on that more. I know that, but it's just, you mentioned routine. I think I just have to kind of put it on my calendar of when that time has to come during the day, and I just go do it. And I do it once a week with a trainer virtually, but I'm just not moving enough. I know that.
Yeah, and I think that tip to put on your calendar is really great, because we don't think about putting, like, I think during a new routine is the best time to put those things on your calendar, to schedule out everything. And that's not for everyone, for sure, but by putting on your calendar, it makes you more likely to do it. So you could even schedule in your meal times, you'd schedule in, your walks, meetings, whatever, like everything. And when it comes up and that ding rings, you're going to go do it. It's kind of that Pavlovian response. And then once you start doing it, maybe you don't need to put it on your calendar all the time, but it's a great way to start a new habit. And I also think, just starting small, and yeah, it's tough. Not everyone's as lucky as me being out in the middle of nowhere, going outside and, having lots of people around and stuff. So, it comes back, a lot of what I've been hearing is people that has really helped is just treating a lot of your stuff with grace, being okay with developing these new routines slowly. A lot of us might be stuck at home for a while. So considering it that way, just slowly adding those routines, maybe once a week, and slowly building from there, maybe even if it's just a 10 to 15-minute walk after, something after lunch or something, or, just a time that's easy for you. And, you could just do that once a week, even if that's the easiest thing, or just, just small movements. It doesn't have to be a 10-mile run, so just think about those things when you're trying to add in movements and things like that.
Yeah, I wanted to just comment, Joe. You mentioned the Miracle Morning. Is there anybody who's read the Miracle Morning? Can you raise your hand if you've read it? No? Nobody's familiar? Okay. Hal Elrod is the author of the Miracle Morning. And it's basically how he created habits in a very short period of time that he did, like at 5 or 10 minutes increments. So like a lot of people think like, oh, if I work out, I have to go to the gym and I have to be there an hour. And so that kind of discounts, if I don't have time for that in my schedule, then I'm discounting it and saying, oh, well, I don't have time to work out. And his kind of philosophy was that he had time to learn something. So he would read, he would do visioning, like to vision what he wanted and what he was going to be focusing on. And then he would read something and he would do a little meditation. And he did this all within like an hour or less. So it broke it up into something that was bite-sizable and easy to implement, because it wasn't a whole lot of time that he wasn't taking 4 hours out of the day to do something. So I think when we're talking, and I know a bunch of people are talking about habits and I've been doing some habit stacking. I do have a Miracle Morning and a morning routine. Joe and I talk about that a bunch, but I think if anybody hasn't picked that book up, I would say if that's, just for his resources, that's a good book to kind of dig into, to establish some habits. And like you're, Joe, saying, I think it's great to have those, like, 1 minute is enough, like 5 minutes is enough. Like, if you just go for a walk, or if you just stand up and stretch, when you're feeling, that counts. Like, it all counts. Yeah. So I feel like that's a good way to look at stuff too, instead of being like, I don't have time. So that was just all I wanted to say. So
Did you say someone had a question too?
there was a few questions in here about habit building. I think I saw one. Carolyn said about eating healthy on the go. So maybe you could go over like your recommendations there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that last, because that's kind of like, like being thrown out of routine is the hardest time to eat healthy. So we're building there. Don't worry. Um, let's see. We've got. Would you recommend a walk right after a meal? Actually, yes. That's a great time to go for a walk, because a lot of people, me included, are usually pretty lackadaisical after eating. It's that kind of, the guy falling asleep at his desk after lunch in the corporate office. But yeah, it's a good time for that, just because it's kind of hard to be productive sometimes, especially for me. I find in the later afternoons is my time where I'm just like, can't do it. So, a lot of times I go for that walk and come back re-energized, or, do a little workout, or something like that. So, and there's also a lot of studies that are coming out recently, which are showing that a walk after you eat actually helps your body absorb the calories more efficiently, and you don't store as much as fat. Um, which is not gospel, but I think it makes sense. So there is an added benefit with that too. So yeah, that is definitely a good time to go for a walk. Okay, let's see. So next we will get to the actual meat and potatoes, as they say, of nutrition, and we'll talk a little bit about food prep. We talked about grocery shopping already. I think most of you guys really know what to buy, but I mean, just keep it simple. Buy whole unprocessed stuff. Like we were talking about, farmers markets are awesome, awesome, awesome. And yeah, it can be a little more expensive, but in the long run, like, and I still have to get this through my head is, spending more on food now is going to save you a lot of money in the long run on medical bills, hospital visits, whatever, drugs, prescriptions. And most people don't think like that long term, but you kind of need to, like, and your food quality makes a big difference. And so when you go to the store, just focus on the 4 macro areas, and that's, protein, vegetables, starches, and fats. So you basically, a lot of us I know are vegetarian or vegans, focus on your protein sources for that, whether that be tofu, or I really like, I've been eating a lot of textured vegetable protein lately, which is shelf stable. And it you basically can just heat it up in the microwave, or even just add water to it, and it's awesome. That you can buy on Amazon. Bob's Red Mill makes a great version of that. If that's something, I use that just to supplement that when I run out of other proteins. I really like it. I love eggs. If you're more of a vegetarian, those are highly versatile, awesome, and they last a long time. Great thing to get now.
Hey, Joe, I just missed the last thing that you said. What were you saying that you were recommending?
You heard about the protein, the vegetable protein was the last thing.
Yeah, you said there was a specific brand that you like? I was going to try to put a link.
Yeah, Bob's Red Mill. I like that one. You can get it on Amazon. It's actually fairly inexpensive, and it is soy based. So if you have a intolerance to soy, that's something to consider. But I like that kind of stuff for vegetable kind of stuff. Lentils are great for that, and if you're more pescatarian, wild caught fish is awesome. There's a couple new, I think, yeah, my mom is here. Mom, can you share where you've been getting your fish? Because I think that's a great source too in the chat, Mom. And that the fish is awesome, because it's got a lot of fats and stuff and other protein in it, so it's kind of like a complete meal in itself. And there's actually a lot of wild caught canned stuff you can get. Yeah, that's it, seed to table. So I encourage you guys to check that out. There's a lot of this is a really cool time because there's a lot of online kind of groceries opening. Like I've started, I could drop it in the chat too here, but I've gone to this online grocery store called Move, and it's this new startup out of San Francisco. They've been giving grass-fed steaks, things like that, and just stuff from like all over the country and around the world that is awesome. So it's something you guys can check out too to kind of help with the grocery store. And so obviously the other part of the protein is, the meats. If you can go grass fed, that's better. And try to avoid some of the factory farm stuff, but don't beat yourself up if you're not eating much protein now. Don't worry too much about that, and just consider getting some of that chicken from the grocery store that is either whatever is in your budget. But if you're not eating any protein right now, I would just start with that's the way I started, just eating a lot of chicken from the grocery store because it's more affordable, and yeah, it may be factory farmed and stuff, but just to don't let like organic and all this crazy grass-fed stop you from starting to eat more protein. So you eat those sources, and then we have all our leafy vegetables, leafy greens, things like that. Load up on that. Like the more you get from the grocery store, the better, I think. And it took me a while to start eating more vegetables, but I just slowly added them in as I went. And for some reason, breakfast is a weird meal in the US and we don't have vegetables with it, but that was huge for me. Getting those vegetables in the morning, it kind of set the tone for my day. And now, like, people always look at me like I'm crazy when they see my meals, because I have so much vegetables, but I can't survive without them now. It's if I go on a trip, I really miss them. So it's been awesome adding those in. And the way I started was just eatable bags of vegetables, and I would just throw them in the microwave at work, and that was super helpful for me. And but yeah, so next, right near the vegetables is your starches. So you want to stick to whole unprocessed stuff. And this is kind of what's really hard because there is so much processed carbs out there. So for me, I just kept it simple when I started, and it was basically rice, potatoes. I ate a lot of sweet potatoes just because you can heat them up in the microwave. I can make my rice in the rice cooker. So I just kept it simple. I liked a lot of oatmeal, instant oatmeal you can make in the microwave. Now I love steel cut oats. I actually soak those overnight with some apple cider vinegar, just to bring out the nuttiness of that. The flavor is awesome. Good fruits, apples, oranges, that kind of thing are awesome. And yeah, we'll get to the balance here in a minute. But and then you want your healthy fats like olive oil, nuts, and those are great things that can fill you up. And right, and and yeah, that's what it comes down to. Is just keep it uncomplicated. The less ingredients, the better. One ingredient is the best, and that's why when you pick up a potato, it doesn't have a nutritional label because it's just a potato. It's not a bunch of stuff. Anyway, so getting into proportions here and meal preparation, basically the way you want your meal to look is when you first start, it's really easy to use your hands for your portion sizes. So for women, which actually I think all women besides me today, which is funny, but it's 1 palm of protein, so that's this section of your palm, and then a fist of vegetables, a thumb of fats, and a cupped handful of carbs. It's really that simple. So, don't make it too complicated. It doesn't have to be exact, but if this part of your palm for protein, fist of vegetables, and you can really eat as much vegetables as you want technically, but if you're not eating a lot of vegetables, it's a good place to start. And then a thumb of fats, cupped handful of carbs, just that section of your hand there for carbs. And then you would double that for guys. And that, if you're eating 3 meals a day, that's gonna probably meet your nutrient needs. And hopefully over time. And it's kind of how to it's how I've got it. It's kind of, I just eyeball it now, and because I'm so good about, I've been doing it forever. And I mean, I used to weigh all my meals, and I say you can do that. That's okay if you like to get that breakdown, specifically for you, if you're super into data, and maybe do that for a week or two, and that could give you a good idea of how many calories you're actually eating. But if you don't want to be bothered with that, using your hands is fine. Like it's a good way to start, adding more healthy foods into your diet. And so, I think, just the whole thing is just try to keep things simple and whole foods and, that kind of thing. Does anyone have any questions? I know that can be a little much.
Looks like there was one. Did you already address this question from how do you feel about protein that are not the guideline of too high, or what? I guess she's asking what are the guidelines for protein?
Yeah, I know what she's asking. That's my mom. She loves to ask about this. So yeah, so it depends on the person, because some people are like, I think most Americans aren't getting enough protein, but I think a lot of the people here probably are, because we're a little more cognizant of what we're eating. And if you're trying to lose weight, the best way to do it is to eat more protein and vegetables. That's what it comes down to, really. And because you want to kind of match starch level to your energy level. So for instance, for me, when I first started trying to lose weight, that's what I did. I reduced my carbohydrate intake basically to that 1 cup handful for every meal. And I was eating, 2 pounds of protein maybe, and 2 thumbs of fat, and a lot more vegetables. And so that would fill me up, and just it helped me kind of keep that deficit where I was losing weight, but in a more sustainable way, because I was still eating a little bit of carbohydrates. And that's kind of how you want to compose your meal if you're losing weight. But yeah, she's right. I mean, protein isn't everything, and you can get a lot from other sources of food as well. But it really depends on the person. You kind of have to figure out what works for you and what fills you up, I think, is the biggest thing. And you don't have to go crazy with the protein. I'm sure most of us aren't bodybuilders here trying to put on, muscle and stuff. But it doesn't hurt to have more protein, I'd say. But so it's better to almost go a little bit over your targets than be under and be hungry, and that's when you get into that whole cycle of wanting to snack, and because you're not filled up. And so if you have enough protein, vegetables, and fats are super satiating. That's a great snack option. While we're talking about it, is just a little thumb or two of nuts and things like that are awesome. And right, yeah, drinking water. I mean, we didn't even talk about that. Is one of the easiest ways to limit cravings and stuff like that we're having during COVID. If you just drink a glass of water when you're hungry for like chocolate or chips or whatever, a lot of times that will satiate you because you're just thirsty. And the guidelines for that are, it's usually about half your body weight in ounces if you're talking pounds. But usually you'll probably need to drink a little bit more than that if you're exercising. But it's just kind of monitoring how thirsty you are and stuff like that. Let's see. Typical breakfasts. I'd love for other people to add comments on that, but for me, I am really simple when it comes to breakfast. I like eggs, vegetables, and oatmeal. And just because it's easy, like I can scramble up a bunch of eggs at once, and I mix it with some spinach sometimes, and sometimes I'll have some roasted vegetables from the night before, or just mix it in with that. And then I'll have my oatmeal. I'll either make a bunch at once, in a big pot and save it for later, or I will even heat it up in the microwave, depending on how busy I am. And you can actually make eggs in the microwave with spinach for a minute and a half. So if you're busy or on the go or something like that, that's a great way to get in a good breakfast. And I add some nut butter usually to my oatmeal for the fats, and I'll add raisins or fruit or something, just cinnamon if I don't want a super amount of carbs in it. There's a lot of different options for breakfast, and I like the textured vegetable protein for breakfast too. I think it's a good substitute for eggs too, if that's something. If you're not into eating eggs, you can kind of season it however you want, and it tastes really good. We had another question here. Okay, so now we're running out of time, so I'm going to try to talk a little bit about, I know this is a lot, guys, so if you have any questions here, just let me know. But eating when you're busy, when you're traveling, it's hard. And I don't know, I know some of you guys are in location Indy, but if you follow Trav, it's really funny watching anytime he goes on a trip, and he'll admit this, he goes all out. And so if you want to hear some of his stories about traveling and eating, listen to Extra Pack of Peanuts podcast. And that's kind of a good idea of how traveling goes for most people, because it's really hard when you're in a new place, a new routine, and this is a new routine too. When you get busy, and this is all kind of lumped into one. How do you eat better when you're doing that? Like when I was biking or when I was on the PCT, and that's a little easier, obviously, because I'm not going to gain weight because I'm doing crazy amounts of endurance. But when I'm just traveling to a new place, and we're eating out all the time or going to restaurants, how do you keep your healthy routine? And it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning, is the motivation. If you're really serious about losing weight, you have to consider that when you're going on your trip, and if it's only a week, and then also the other part about it is how long is your trip? If it's a month-long trip, you're going to have to be a lot more careful with your health, because obviously if you eat terribly for a month, you're going to come back with less energy, maybe overweight, things like that. So before you go, think about how long the trip is going to be and what your motivation is, and what your goals are. And this also applies to times where you might be getting super busy. You might be thrown into a new work project, or you're traveling for work, or something. I mean, this is an interesting one because we were kind of thrown into this without really having a choice, but it's still the same ideas kind of apply. So think about those two things before you start. And if you have really stringent goals, you're going to have to be a little more stringent with these tips. But usually for traveling, what I like to do is always eat a healthy breakfast. And that's lots of vegetables in the morning, like a lot of the breakfasts we've been talking about, because that really just helps me set the tone for the day. And I will actually bring green powder with me on the road. And I did this while I was biking. I was lucky, I got these algae tablets that just made it a lot easier for me to be able to get those vegetables in the morning. So I like to take that right in the morning, because I know that it's really hard a lot of times to eat vegetables when you're out at restaurants. They don't give me the portions that I'm used to. So I like to have that, and sometimes I'll bring like protein powder too to supplement. But the other part about it is I always like to go to the local grocery store and check it out and get some bags of greens, salad bags that I can eat anywhere, or just like vegetables I can throw in the microwave, things like that. A lot of times, sometimes I'll even grab a rotisserie chicken because that's already pre-cooked. And if you're spending more time in your travels, you might want to consider having access to a kitchen. And that really helps, because you'll be able to cook those meals instead of going out all the time. And also, the other part about it is I like to do the 2-for-1 rule, which is I never have 2 bad meals in a row. Like, I know, not saying bad, unhealthy, and not saying that those are unhealthy or bad for you on the road. I love enjoying a good meal from a restaurant, or from an awesome destination, some of the best meals I've ever had. And I don't worry about it, I just enjoy it. But I always make sure to follow it up by maybe something healthier off the menu, or I go to my hostel or Airbnb and cook something. So that's something you can do too. And then maybe the last tip is to split a treat. Instead of getting the whole ice cream cone for yourself, split it with a friend. A lot of times it's just that first 2 bites is really all you need to satiate that craving. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself during your travels and doing all these things. You're probably going to be more active, so you can handle a lot of this stuff. Just remember your goals. Remember what it feels like when you eat badly, and how you feel the next thing. That lack of energy, because I've definitely felt that before you get into all that stuff. Yeah, but that's pretty much everything. I have a lot of recipes I can share. I know we didn't really talk too much about that, but I actually have a guide that has a bunch of recipes that I can share here in the chat. And yeah, just let me know if you guys have any questions in the last 5 minutes here.
I did want to say thank you for going over some of these tips. I really, I've been practicing healthier habits for a while, but it's like that maintaining it. And I think it's just highlighting the fact that it's easier than you think to eat healthy is good. It just takes a little bit of intention. And, when we talk about finding calm and being more intentional, and then relating that to the food that we bring into our house, then it's automatically going to help me feel less stressed when I know I've made good choices in that trip to the grocery store or the online order that I made. So I think all of it relates back to just, I have a few little ththings that I appreciate. Some people are sharing some resources in here. So I really, really like a lot of these different resources. So, there's his meal guide is in there. So if you guys check that out, his grocery guide is in there in the chat. You can save the chat. There's a little 3 buttons. And it's that option, if you press the 3 buttons, is save the chat. So you can do that and keep all these resources to access later if you want. I just wanted to let you all know that. Did anybody have any takeaways, or does anybody have any action items now that they've kind of thought a lot about their nutrition in the last 45, 50 minutes here, that we can start making changes? Carolyn?
I had a few, not just one. So I want to take a walk after my meals, just a 5-10 minute walk. It's quick. I really like the hand for portions, because I was trying to figure out my portions, and that's a better way of managing my meals than counting calories, because it's just so arduous. So I like using my hand. And with traveling, not having to bad meals in a row, following up a extravagant meal or a restaurant meal with a healthy meal. I really like that idea.
Awesome. Yeah, and for all these things, don't feel like you have to do them all at once. Be kind to yourself. It takes a while to develop habits, and I always liken it back. Make sure you're 9 out of 10 confident you can do it a prescribed amount of times per week. Because typically we try to go all out with food, and sometimes you got to take a step back and just take it step by step, just slowly build those things in.
Oh.
Hope
anybody else?
So, yeah, Hope was raising her hand. So.
Oh yeah. Somehow I lost you. I don't know if you can hear me. You lost me.
I can hear you.
Okay, well, I lost the picture. Yeah, I'm really happy that I came to this meeting, and thank you, Robin, for telling me all about it. And I think I'm going to go for a walk after it too. I like to go for walks, and all that healthy eating makes me feel good, stress-wise too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hope. Thank you for being here and being able to learn something today. I think it's a beautiful day out, where I am in Pennsylvania. I don't know where everybody else is, but I think everybody should just go for a walk after this. That way we can put something in motion after this call. Stephanie said, I love your advice on being okay with developing the routine slowly, not to be too hard on myself. Thank you so much. Great talk, Joe. Thank you, Stephanie, for sharing. Carolyn's going to go on her bike. Any other last tips or tricks, or anybody else going to take some action in the next 24 hours?
Eat some more vegetables.
Eat some more vegetables. That sounds like a plan. Joe was saying the other day he said something about eating like a piece, like adding broccoli 3 times a week or something, or like adding one vegetable.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. It'd be adding broccoli to your lunch, 3 times a week. Don't try to change everything at once. And that's what I want to keep enforcing, because, just make it easy. And just, if you want to drop your habit here you're going to do into the comments, and, we can keep you accountable, then you can do that too, if that will help you do it.
Yeah, if that's a good point. We have accountability. Joe is in my mastermind, and it's good to have a team to support you. A lot of people have Facebook groups and things like that, but it can be hard to maintain those things. But does anybody have a team right now that they utilize for keeping accountable for healthy habits? Like, if you do, just raise your hand real quick. If you have a group of people that you rely on. Yeah, I see a couple hands. Awesome. You guys have some support already in place. I would say make sure you're reaching out to some friends. Maybe that would be helpful to get an accountability partner, and just say, I'm sure you know of one person who kind of has an interest in, either getting healthier nutrition into their daily habits, or maybe they want to do something else, and you can just challenge each other and follow up. Because I've had friends that I've been in accountability for drinking, for sugar, for those kinds of things, and it doesn't have to be the same exact thing. You could just say, oh, well, check on me about this, and I'll check on you about that, and we'll sync back up in the next week, because the team is super super important. So yeah, I think that's a good thing. Speaking of teams, so Find Calm here is a community where we share these resources, and we're launching a community in June. To be a part of that, you can sign up. So if you go to the website findcalmhere.com, and make sure, if you're not already getting that mailing, that you sign up with your email, because what we'll do is we're going to give you updates on every meeting. We're going to have weekly meetings. They're all going to have different topics. So today's was about nutrition, but we're going to have Finding Calm with Strength next week, and then the following week we're going to have Finding Calm with Adventure. So there's going to be a lot of different events coming up. We're going to have some really great speakers for the month of June. If you have any questions, you can reach out. If you have recommendations about what topics you'd like to hear, you can let us know on Facebook, or if you want to email me, there's a contact button on the on the website, if you wanted to reach out to us at Find Calm Here directly. And then if you are interested in being in the community, that is going to launch in a few weeks. So there will be more details to follow. So you'll want to make sure you get on the list about the Find Calm Here community. And then you could work with, Joe and other people in that community, as far as like he could work with you on being accountable for whatever you're working on. So if you don't have a team, we could be your team and Find Calm Here. So does anybody just want to shout what they want to do? Like real quick, just be like, I'm going to bike. I don't know. Anybody? No. Everybody's like, I'm going to do something. Oh, Elena.
I'm probably gonna go explore a little local trail by my house. I recently found it for the first time. I've lived in this town for over 10 years, never knew about it, and I just want to explore it more. It has all these little cross trails. I'm really excited about it.
I didn't hear a whole lot of that. We had a little bit of delay in feedback there, but thank you for being willing to share. You could type it in the chat really quick if you want to just briefly do that. But anyway, thank you all so much. We had a great a great turnout on today's event. I'm really happy that we're getting the word out on Find Calm Here. And yeah, it's just a little bit after our time here together. So with that, I will let Joe finish out the meeting. Any other last words?
Yeah, if you guys obviously have any questions, reach out. let's see, just follow my website is the best place to contact me.
Yeah, I was gonna say put your perfect. Put your website in there. Yep.
Yeah, so it has all my social media on there, contacts. I have a group too if you want to join. Either way, but I mean, I would really encourage you to join Deb's group because there's gonna be like 30 people like me on everything you could ever imagine with Finding Calm. Like it's pretty crazy what she's put together. So, you know, just get on the list for that, and so you can get in when it opens. You know, it's gonna be the first time it's opening like this, so it's going to be an awesome time to get into it. I'm really excited about it. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, reach out to me or reach out to Deb. And thanks so much for being on today and dropping all your tips. Like all your tips are almost better than mine, so appreciate it.
Yeah, I love the shared wisdom of a lot of these, you know, sources in the chat. So thank you all for sharing your time and your wisdom with us. Appreciate everybody's time. It's a lovely Saturday right now, so let's get outside and go for a walk or bike or whatever it is you're gonna do, and have a great day. Okay, guys? You can say bye on your way out. Wave and say bye to me on your way out.
Bye,
We'll
see you later. Bye. Thank you, guys.
Guys, bye. Deb.
There, everybody.
Battery's dead. I don't know.
You have to wait.
No.
My God, you have no patience. It took us a while, and then all of a sudden it started.